Good evening and welcome to Tuesday at Two Lions. I'm super excited about tonight, this live stream. Been talking about it for a couple of weeks. Finally are going to get the 2025 Michigan 24 winners, Grizzly Racing, on tonight, and I got all of the guys on. So I'm super excited about it. So I don't know who all's in the chat, but guys, if you have any questions for these guys, I want to bring them on. Just throw them in the chat. I'll put them up on the screen and we can jump on. But I apologize. First, I'm not going to do a bunch of shout outs today. I appreciate everybody being here. We're going to get into this conversation because we have a lot to talk about, and these guys are pretty excited about their weekend. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Grizzly Racing to the screen. Let me be the first to congratulate you guys for an awesome race at the Michigan 24. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. It was a great race. We've talked about it before. I was supposed to be there and couldn't go because I ended up leading worship at an event, and which worked out awesome. But it gave me a chance to watch a lot of the live stream on my downtime. So I watched a ton of the 24 hours. Probably way too many. I lost some sleep, but just what a great game plan from start to finish. I watched the first stint with Kurt when he jumped on, and he gave you guys a nice shot in the arm right off the bat, and you just kept building on that. And anything that came at you, you did a great job of managing that. And I think that's what I was super impressed with the most, was how you managed that race. And so, we'll jump into that. But congratulations! I'm sure everybody's excited. We know it's been a long road for some of you to get here, and we were joking beforehand that Steve walked in, first year, got there. We'll give him a hard time about that, but let's just introduce everyone. So we'll start upper right hand corner. Guys complain because when I bring people on, they don't know who's talking. So we'll start with the upper right hand corner of everybody's screen. That would be Greg, Andy, and Josh, and then bottom right is Kurt and Rob. And then all by his lonesome over there in Kentucky is our friend Steve. He's by himself. So these are the guys. So Greg, I'm going to start with you. Talk about the team and how you kind of assembled this team, how it started in the beginning, and you've been at this for a few years. So just give us a little background, and then we'll kind of go around the horn and let everybody talk about their experience.
Yeah. So about, with COVID in there, it's probably been, 13, 14 years. I followed the first two events online and that Mike had put on. And for the third year, I convinced four others to make the trip with me and run a slot car for 24 hours. Butch was one of them, and went up there, ran for 24 hours. It was completely terrible. It was awful. We were way underprepared. Our car was not good. We didn't, we took the knowledge we had, and it just wasn't good enough up there with the level of competition. We were just woefully underprepared in a lot of ways. So we left and we were like, great, we did it. That was good. It's fun. Never do that again. And then Butch called me a week later, and we started having a conversation. We asked some different people to join us, and we started building the team from there. Finished last the first 2 years, and then every year after that, we would always climb up a place. We'd improve our game, we'd climb up a place. All the while, the teams there always giving us tips. We were learning from them. The knowledge up there about slot cars with everyone at that race just can't be calculated. So many amazing good racers. And through the years, Butch and I were always the constants. Everyone around us would change, but we've kind of had the same team since COVID, pretty much together. Rob joined the team, and then after that, it would be Andy and Josh. And then for this year, we were able to bring Steve and Kurt on. Unfortunately, Butch was unable to make this last trip with us, but he was definitely there with us in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
In our
Andy.
minds, and he
Okay,
was
sorry.
also watching and blowing up our phone.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. Yeah, I'm sure he
And
was.
Rob's still wearing a shirt.
Yeah, Rob
Yeah,
is still wearing
the
Butch's shirt.
tuxedo shirt is Butch. He would always bring it up there for the race. So
Yeah.
this year, you know, we deeply missed having them there.
Sure.
I saw the orange tuxedo shirts and I bought them for all the guys. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Andy, how did you get involved? I've raced with Andy at Cincy Slots for a while, and he's a super fast guy there. So how did you get drug in, Greg?
It was Greg. I was running 124 scale cars forever. And then I started dabbling with the 132nd cars, and I came over to Greg's house a couple of times and raced with him. And I raced with Butch. And then I got down to Cincy Slots, and then I started getting better on the plastic because I didn't run a lot of plastic tracks. So we got to be friends, and we got to drive against each other, and he could see what I could do. I knew what they were doing. And, there was an open spot in the team, and he asked me, and I said, yeah, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, I'm always out there watching, who's around us. As we got our cars better in the event, I started looking for drivers that could put the laps down. And that's, how we filled the team, because the ultimate goal was to win. And once you get a good car, then it comes down to, drivers who can drive it, take care of the car, and put the laps down.
And, this is our third year, mine and Josh's, and you could tell every year we were there, we were starting to get used to this track.
Right.
And all of a sudden it just started coming in, and we started really turning laps. And then the car, was a big thing. Which car are you going to run? We had 12, 14 of these cars, and they all ran well.
Right.
So we were there on a Thursday night trying to figure out, which car are we going to run? And it all boiled down to one car, two cars, and then we decided out of those two cars, and we stuck with it. We all stuck together, and we had a program. We ran it, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked great.
Yeah, it was impressive. So Josh, you've been racing since you were a kid, man. And now, now you're not so much one. So how did you get involved?
Not anymore. Started doing slot cars about 20 years ago now, which is wild to say. I took about a 4 or 6 year break, middle and high school, kind of in there. Got back into it after I graduated by walking into the hobby shop, and I was like, I wonder if they're still doing it. I showed up on a Wednesday, bought a car the night of. I still had all my cars. I just didn't bring them with me. Bought a car the night of and raced, and then hooked again ever since. So that was 2019. In 2020, Butch had actually reached out to a buddy of mine and I to run with New York for the Michigan 24. Mm-hmm. At that time, we didn't know COVID was going to happen and stuff. COVID happened, that kind of went to the back of my brain and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I'll probably never get to run it. We didn't know the future of that race at the time. Then Greg and Butch start hosting these 3 hours out at Butch's track, which I was like, well, it's an endurance race. It sounds like fun. I'll show up, get a couple of the guys from the hobby shop to go up there with me. I did a couple of them. Then I get an email from Butch. Hey, would you be interested in doing the Michigan 24?
Yep.
Got roped into it and loved every year since. And kind of like Andy said, cars keep getting better. Drivers are getting better.
It's addiction awesome. Now.
Yeah.
It's like since we left, we're looking at next year.
Yep.
So
right.
We're already in tires.
So we'll move down to Rob and Kurt. Now, I met Rob and Kurt. Well, Kurt I met at Butch's the first time, and I raced there, and that was a horrible experience for me. But it wasn't because I met Kurt.
Well, I took you out.
Kurt was the bright spot because I'll tell you, he could tell I got frustrated, and at one point he started teasing me a little bit, and that's when I knew. I was like, okay, I like this guy. He's kind of giving me a little bit of a hard time. And then I met Rob, and Rob is just from day one has given me a hard time. So, and I appreciate that. So that tells me when
that's all part of the fun.
It's all part of the fun. And so Kurt, you've raced this race a number of times. You've won it before, yeah. And but tell me how you got hooked up with the Grizzly Racing this time, and talk about your experience.
Well, I have been really successful at this, and it is because of hard work. So I help anyone I can, but for me to get where I was on Team Cloverleaf. Two of my heroes are on that team. First of all, there's Corey.
Yep.
He showed me that brakes make you faster, not slower. They don't slow you down, they speed you up. And my ultimate hero is Cal Crum. He runs the show, puts up with that poor guy. I asked him so many questions, and I don't know how many times I asked the same question. And he was patient with me to a fault. But they had been really close. I think they won it once. And then there's Mike Stott too. He's running the race and it's his home. He's another one. Just no matter what I wanted, he got it. You know, he just was. He's a pro's pro. So
I would agree.
It just Cloverleaf was my first girlfriend. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're my heroes. It just didn't work. We just butted heads a little bit. And I won the race and was kind of in a dark spot because I was ready to quit. I was just a bit despondent. And Butch called me, of all people. I mean, it's like my hero. And I talked to him, poor guy, for 2 hours and mentioned it. I said, I think I'm going to quit. He's like, don't quit. And I said, well, talk to Greg. I said, there's things that Greg and I will differ on. I said, but it's his team. I said, I don't want to quit. I like the guys. I just need a break. And he called like 15 minutes later. I thought he'd think about it. And I'm like, oh. I jumped at the chance because during the race last year we won and it wasn't even close. Our car was unbeatable. I mean, it hit everything but the lotto and didn't break.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just when it's your year, it's your year. And but I always watch Slot Car Corner because those guys are gods. Okay. Even if they don't have the pace, you can never count them out.
Right.
Because that's happened the first year. We were 18 minutes ahead of them and they beat us. So anything can happen in racing. And last year, the only guys I watched were Grizzly because they had things you cannot buy. They had passion. You cannot buy that. They were all faced the same direction at the same time. You can just see a winner.
Yeah.
And they just had it together and they looked like Slot Car Corner.
Right.
And I was impressed. I'm like, the first time I met Greg and all the guys from Ohio, Butch was the only guy with talent. That was 4 years ago. It's not that way. All these guys are brilliant now. So they've done their homework.
Right.
And then I met Steve, 2 years ago at the Nationals. And that guy, he was just like me. Every question, he bent my ear. And he was part of the team. I'm like, I want on. So I took my break. They did all the work. We won. And I laughed the whole time because I did nothing but drive. I mean, Greg took over. Anything he said, we did. We had the greatest car and we were blowing it on tactics. He made the change. It's hard to get Kurt to stop or not to stop and get his tires cleaned. You have to be a teammate.
Yeah.
Because if I start doing 7-second laps, I start to shake. Okay, that's too slow. Or 7 seconds was enough to clean everyone's clock. And that's all you got to do. And he's the boss. You do what the boss says. Mm-hmm. And he had a brilliant plan and we did the right thing. We changed our tactics midstream and that was it. It was over.
Yep.
They just love it. You could just see it in their faces how important it was. And
Well, just
It
by
was so
watching,
important to them, they pinched me out of the picture. There's this little sliver of me right in there. You can
Well-
just see like my left eye and my, like.
I made sure I
That's
used that
about
one
it.
too. And
But it was a lot of fun, and I love slot cars again. I mean, I
Yeah,
went a
that's
whole
awesome.
year of hating it. So
yeah, that was good to see.
just happy for it. And then Steve was just picked it up like that. He's so fast. And to watch him struggle at Mike's, now he knows how I felt.
Yeah.
I only run one lane. The first time I went there, I cussed all the way home. That was a long ass ride, I'll have you know. It's not an easy track.
No, it looks pretty tough.
And
We'll get to
watch
we'll get to
him
that.
come unglued. I'm like, now you know. It's a very difficult race. And Greg earned it.
Yeah.
I'm happy for him. I just wish Butch was here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
So, Rob, you've done this probably the most, right, out of this group.
This was my 11th 24-hour race.
Wow.
I've been on, I started, I don't know, I found Cloverleaf because I work right in town where Mike has his stores. He used to have a little store right in town. And I work in that town, and I kept driving by, and I said, I got to stop in there. So that had to be probably 15, 16 years ago, I would say. And, I did this. I just want to have fun, blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested in going out of state. I'm not interested in any kind of big racing. Well, you go to Mike's house, and that track at Mike's house is so addicting.
Oh, yeah.
It is a drug.
Yeah.
That track is so fun, so fast, so fun, so smooth.
Demanding.
But it has its shark bites, and it takes time to learn that track. Matter of fact, we used to weekly race at Mike's house, and all the guys that are still around that still do that were there then. Say we miss Mike's weekly at Mike's house.
Yeah.
Because that track is so addicting. But anyway, my first 24-hour race, we had a great car builder build us a car. He didn't race. And he built us a car. And at the end of the 24-hour race, we gave him his car back in a bag. We changed every single part on that car. We ran a whole segment, 48 minutes, with no front axle and tires because we were prepping another chassis because we busted the supports right off the car. But I mean, that's part of racing. Like we're going to tease Steve because he jumps on and blah blah blah, first year winner. That does not happen ever. Nightmares. You can guarantee a nightmare.
You're buying.
But it's just so you got a minimum of 40 to 45 guys down there every year, and we just have it is the race, and you're there to win. But being with the guys for 36 straight hours is so much fun. But on Monday, you have to go to confession. Because you need like 2 priests because you're not going to do it in a 4-hour stint.
I had to go Tuesday because I didn't have clothes on Monday. I didn't get out of bed.
But anyway, so I was on a few different teams, and you just work, and the biggest thing you want to do is
It's not pretty.
Is you want to finish. You just want to finish the race. That's the first thing.
Right.
Well, I was in the same predicament as Kurt here. I wasn't going to race, blah, blah, blah. And Greg and Butch called me and said, hey, man, you can race with us anytime you want. And we've just had a blast. One thing I do have to say is I think since I've been on that team, we've always podied. Correct, Greg?
Yes.
So
that's a bonus.
That's
it's not easy.
It's that race for anybody, so you can't, oh no, you and Dusty, no, we're not good enough to race there. We're not good enough to race. But anybody out there that wants to come to the Michigan 24, just pick a team or a driver out there and just follow what he does. So when he's on the track, you really pay attention to the track. When he's off the track, you pay attention. When he goes to sleep, you go to sleep, and you don't race at all, and see how grueling that is on your mind and your body. Now you got to put yourself at that driver's station. The biggest thing you got to put yourself in is marshaling, because, you know, it's always the marshal's fault when your car falls off, you know.
Yep.
But so it's a grueling race, but it's so fun. Mike has put on a great event, you know.
Yeah.
You know, here lately, you know, I would say probably the last 6 years, he's gotten a lot of help from Steve Sautel, and then Craig, his wife, does all the cooking.
Nice.
And I mean, just that alone is worth admission, you know, let alone racing and with the guys. But no, so, and we just been progressing every year, getting a little better. And as Kurt says, it's so fun to watch a person, and Greg has come from that, you know, I don't know, that the basement, you know, weekly racer who just shows up and takes the car out of the box and puts it on the track and is going to have fun, to what he is today. It's been, I mean, and you can ask other guys on other teams, it's been so fun to watch. Everything he's done has been so deserving, because he puts in so many. I'm talking 14 cars.
Unreal.
14 cars. And we could have picked 6 and said, I want this one, I want this one. The problem with being the car builder is Greg has his driving style. So he has to build a car that he can drive, but 5 other individuals have to drive it at their style. That is the hardest thing to accomplish.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
So, but it was a big relief after 11 years finally to be able to hoist that trophy and know our name's going on there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
It's fun.
Yeah. But I invite anybody out there to come and be a spectator. It's worth it. It's unreal. It is unreal.
People come in and out.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
we do have that one. I don't know his name.
the kid from Port Huron.
No, the older gentleman that comes, his friend does race on New York. Greg, you might know his name, but he never races, but he's been there the last 3 years, I think. He stays there the whole time. He goes just like he is racing. He'll go sleep. He'll eat. You know, he pays. He pays a admission fee and doesn't even race. But that gentleman there gets a full eye view of what it takes to be involved in these races, and he enjoys them. He must enjoy himself. He comes back every year. What a knucklehead!
Yeah,
that's great. Now, Steve, I won't give you a hard time.
Oh boy, here we go.
No.
Golden boy.
So
is that what you were thinking?
No.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So when Greg said that Steve was going to jump on the team, I knew that there would be a moment where Steve would struggle. But I've been around Steve long enough to know that that's a driving factor for him, and that there was going to be a bounce back and it was going to be good. And it was pretty awesome to see that happen, because I was watching the stream and I looked up and Steve was in the middle of his stint and he was down some laps, and I was like, oh, they must have had car problems or something like that. And then I just realized that at watching your face, Steve, that like you were frustrated, and it was your first time really. And I know you'd had a lot of practice laps trying to prep, but I don't think you can take that to the track immediately, right? In that race is such a big race. And man, it was just great to see at the end how you turned that around, and really was just solid every other time you got on the track. You were learning the track, you were getting faster and faster and faster, and it looked like it was getting easier and easier and easier. So talk a little bit about that, because I think that was just super important for you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Greg and all the other guys on the team. Kurt's always been one of my slot car heroes. He taught me a ton of stuff, almost everything that I know. And I really appreciate that. But yeah, so it's hard for me not to be the best all the time, and I think that that's like, maybe one of my faults or whatever. But when I got there, I had about 3 hours, maybe 2 hours of practice on the track from a previous drive up there, and then the Friday before. And you're always practicing with a different car because we're trying to figure out what car to drive, or what
Right.
car we're going to race. And I had no idea. So, you just start practicing with different cars. So it's not like you're, you know, practicing with a car that you're racing with and everything's real simple like that. So
Right.
there's the track and the complexity of the track. And then there's, okay, we're going to use this car about, what do you think, Greg? About 5 minutes before the race, you were like, all right, take
Well-
the weight out of it, and we're using this car. And it happened to be the car that I built for the race. And the only reason why I built it for the race was because I wanted to know how it went together. And so if I had to work on one of the cars that Greg had built, which were like 15 different cars, I wanted to know how to be able to take it apart and fix it really
Right.
quick if there were any issues. But yeah, so we're practicing. I may have gotten a couple of practice laps with this car because we were kind of trying to save tires and things. So Greg puts on a set of tires. He says, all right, run some laps with this. So I knock out a 6.9 and a 6.8, and I'm like, this car's good. I had no idea it was my car at the time because he had changed the body on it. And so yeah, so we start the race with that car. I'm pretty excited about this whole thing, but I always go into almost every race. I will say every race thinking we're winning this and there's really no other option. So, but then then I guess I'm the third guy on the car after about 2 hours of the car being on the track, and the tires were not the same tires that I was practicing with. And I'm sitting here trying to run 6.8s with the car, and I can't do it. So I'm getting frustrated, and literally I destroyed that car. I mean, my first heat, like I came off on that kink and Mike Stott hit me in the back like 4 different times. Greg's like pulling the car off the track and super gluing shit together. And I'm just like, man, this is not me. This is just not how this goes for me. And so, we got the car through that. I left or got done with the stint. I kind of didn't talk to anybody and went back to the
Where'd he go?
Went back to the Airbnb. Right. I know, man. I was just like, don't talk to me. And so Jeff and I went back to the Airbnb and I texted Greg. I'm like, look, man, that's not me. And I don't know what needs to happen or change or whatever. And he was like, man, just get some rest. Come on back. We'll figure it out. And I did. And, it's just really hard. And at the end, I'm running close to 400 laps or whatever, 380, high 380s or whatever, which is, a season
Benchmark
that's
for
where,
sure.
Yeah. So I got it dialed in. It was just hard for me to drive the car with tires that were worn and figure out how to make the car work when it wasn't as perfect as it might have been in practice. But man, that car was just so smooth. It was like a magic carpet. It really was. It was just a bizarre car, and it really did well for us, even after I torqued it pretty bad. So yeah, it was
Absolutely.
it was an amazing experience. And like I said, I'm really appreciative of all the guys, being supportive and just giving me a chance to really show what I can offer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you guys did a great job.
You were awesome, dude. We just had Rob turn the voltage down when you got out there the next time.
Well,
Yeah.
first,
Well, you know,
after-
that's what you got to do
It
sometimes.
worked.
well, before he went to the Airbnb,
Heavy
Kurt made
trigger
sure he didn't
finger.
have no shoelaces or belt.
Get his belt and his shoelaces. We're gonna need them later.
That's right.
All right.
So, I mean, it's a 24-hour race. I mean, a lot of preparation goes into this. Can you guys talk about, for those who've never raced in a 24-hour race, kind of like what goes into it? It doesn't matter.
Preparation for 2026 started 3 days after 2025.
Yeah. It started in the
literally
car
all
home.
year.
On the way home.
And that evolved.
Tires for 4 months.
Yep.
And for this team, that evolved through the years. So, first 2 years, we did the race, we'd come back, and then the following year we'd start prepping in February. Well, that wasn't working because we finished last both times. So when we were heading home, like the third year, after finishing last yet again, Butch and I talked the whole way home, and we were like, we just got to start prepping earlier. We got to test. We got to, get a car that works for everyone. That's evolved over the years to where, we start talking briefly about things, overall things, right after the race. Okay, this went well. This may need to change. We'll try this. And that kind of progresses all through the summer, small tests here and there, building cars, changing cars from the previous run. But I'd say it really kicks into high gear right after like the NSR Nationals. That's kind of like our, okay.
Tires.
Yeah, tires the whole year. Right after the NSR Nationals, it is 100%, 24 hours. Leading up to that, you could quantify it and say we had 2 months of prep, even before that. So,
And, we got to go to Butch's house, which helped a lot. We got to practice on a big wooden track. Got a lot of testing on the tires at that point, and then the speed came and the driving came. Everybody got used to moving that big car around that track. So it took a lot of prep.
Yeah, Butch built a track. He wanted to build a new track anyway, but that track had a very specific purpose behind its building, and that was to prep for the 24 hours in Michigan, because we were always disadvantaged. Because we would set up our cars and we'd go up there and have to set them up again. Kind of change things around because we were testing on a different track, get up to that track, and things didn't just transfer.
Right.
So when Butch built that track, I can set up a car to that track and be fast. And that car can go straight to the 24-hour track, and I don't even have to turn a screw.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's the same fast car. So
Yeah. So shout out to Butch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Butch again.
I know he's
Oh, yeah.
For years, our prep was to win this race. So
Finally, somebody in Ohio realized that real men have wood. We don't do this plastic stuff.
Earmuffs.
But,
come on, Rob.
Come on, Rob.
That's funny.
but yes, the preparation, even this year, the preparation went as far as Greg's son Peyton. Here's a car, run it. And he purposely ran it into walls and on Butch's track and at home, because you have to see, because an accident's going to happen. Steve told you right off the bat, he's in a big accident. An accident's going to happen. So you got to be able to see what the car can take. And we've learned a lot, as you know, as you said, Marty, because the first time we met was at Butch's, and I drew the short straw and got you on my team.
That's right.
And of course, you broke the
car.
You broke the car, as normal. But and as you said, that pod we had that was going to be a pod we wanted to use, and
Right.
it ended up, we broke 2 of them, and that's a no-go.
Yeah.
That eliminates that part. So, but I mean, the preparation went as far as crash testing on these cars.
Another thing is you have to innovate. You cannot, if you're losing one year and you come back with the same thing the next year, you're going to lose again. You have to constantly renew. So that was one thing Cloverleaf was good at. We ran big blocks and we ran angle winders. Nobody ever did that. And nobody ever ran tires that were that wide. They're all running this.
Yeah.
So that was, we every year did something different. And just wait till next year. We're just getting started. These guys are good and they're still hungry. So,
but me and Greg have been rubbing shoulders, with some of the best. I have to put him as the best.
Yeah.
Mike Smokey O. He has a slot car Bible. He will give you every tip he has. He has been so helpful and great with me. Truant Tires, Smokey O, a guy by the name of John Kropp, David Zagoda here in Michigan. Them 3 have taught me everything I know about Truant Tires, and every guy here will tell you tires is 95% of that car.
It's so important.
Now, do I true tires just like them? No, I took what works for me.
Well, you're doing it my way now. No wonder.
And but
You're welcome.
without that, everybody there is willing to help you anyway. Greg will tell you, this is what I do. This is what you need to do. This is where you went wrong.
You did a great job, dude. You're hard.
You're rubbing elbows with some of the, Dickie Pierce. Yeah. This year they told me, Rob, all you got to do is stay pace with Slot Car Corner. I'm coming up in blue. I look over in blue. Who's in blue? Dickie Pierce. Right. I looked at him and said, you guys are serious. You expect me, we call him the Machine.
He comes out once a year.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And every lap is within 1 or 2 tenths. He's a machine. He's a computer. Consistent. And I went out there and I matched him. And I knew right then and there, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
But, over the years, you're there with Mark and, that guy's phenomenal.
Georgia.
From Georgia. Jason, he didn't show up this year. Christian and George's, they couldn't get us. They couldn't come this year. Our Canadian friends, we put the tariffs on them, so we had to kibosh on them.
Always step.
These guys are, second
advantage that I have is that I didn't know any of these guys. I don't know any of them. I get up there and I just try to run the fastest laps that I can, not intimidated by anybody because I don't know who anybody is.
That's probably a good thing.
That's my saving grace there. It's like,
you sure met Mike Stott in the
I'm
race.
Here, and that's all that really
matters. When I found out Mark was coming,
you know that.
I know.
When I found out Mark was coming, I knew he was going to run black. Mark is Mike's track record holder, and I text Greg. I said, under no circumstances do you tell Josh that he's got to go 1-on-1 against a world champion.
He did it,
and we don't want his nerves up there. And
guy is fast.
That's because he was driving a dump truck.
Yeah, but and that's part of it. The part of it is mental. A lot of it is mental.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So
the other thing is everyone's like, wow, man, their car later in the race, everyone's like, oh man, Slot Car Corner's getting fast. Well, you knew that was going to happen. Right. Here comes every year Chicago has a lights out John Toussaint, lights out at the end of the race. But I'm like, just relax, boys. We unloaded this car on Thursday and haven't touched it. Those cars have been worked on 4 or 5 times.
Right.
Their race is over. All we got to do is finish. So it makes a difference. It's even that is part of the mental game. They're coming on. We're falling away because we're sticking to our game plan.
Right.
and it's so important. And we just did the right thing, Greg. That's why he won.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Well, I can
finally
tell you
working.
the 3 years that we've been there, we haven't. Our cars went through the whole 24-hour race with minimal amount of damage. The 1 year I did, we changed brushes and one set of tires.
Yep.
And then the next year, Greg, I don't think we did more than that either.
We did tires and a wing.
So
Yeah.
in the last 3 years that we've been there, we finished that race with that same car from the beginning to the end without taking.
Well,
it
your
out.
skills, you have way
Yeah.
better
And this-
skills.
Yeah, and this year marked the 5th year that we had a car last the entire race with no major mechanicals.
Yeah.
And that's something that
phenomenal.
I really work on, because if your car has to leave the track, one, because I learned the hard way, our car was leaving the track every 10 minutes, it seemed. Like we broke the guide 10 times in a race before. We've changed 2 motors in a race before. And those are
Right.
things that Butch and I talked about. We were like, we have to build these cars to last.
Yeah.
And then once we did that, and Rob, came onto the team, we had a car that could last. We just didn't quite have the speed. And I'd say the past 5 years, we kept getting faster and faster and faster. And then with the innovation of brushless that we were able to bring last year and fully exploit this year, that was
Awesome.
our big change that I told Butch. I was like, we've been bringing the same stuff for 3 years. Our cars last. They're not fast enough. And last year we took the big leap with brushless. It was good, but it wasn't great. This year it was phenomenal.
The speedo change and the tires.
Yeah.
Rob busted his butt on them tires.
Yes, he did.
And but the cars were so good. It was just literally just roll the dice, close your eyes, grab one. It didn't matter because really no one was on pace with us. So it's don't expect it, because those boys are on notice now. They're eating their Wheaties.
That's
Yeah,
right.
everyone's working now.
So the track.
Everyone wants to win, so it's very
Right.
important to do the work.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that track, let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, I think that every track has its challenges, but you guys talk about just how challenging that track really is. And I know Josh was killing it in black. That's kind of his lane. And
Ridiculous.
that was fantastic. So as part of your game plan, that is part of your game plan, is you find lanes that people are good at and try to keep them in that lane as much as you can through the rotation and part of race management. But talk a little bit about the track and its challenges, and because a lot of guys, they saw part of the track in the live stream, but there's some of that you didn't see in this camera shot. So
Yeah. So I mean, it's an extremely fast track. You wear down silicone tires so fast, through the race. It has when you come down the driver's station, has the hardest 90-degree turn you've ever seen, turning right, but you can hit it as hard as that car can take.
It's awesome.
It's the fastest 90-degree turn I ever run on. And then from there, it goes into real technical kind of S's. It's one of my favorite parts of the track. Has a real flowy back and forth. And then it kind of makes a hard 90 and goes underneath itself, almost like a hill climb in a way. And then from there, it's super high speed underneath the upper section. But then it has a real tricky part right after that, and we call it the kink. And everyone
Do a
finds it.
teardrop. Yeah.
I found it my first year a lot. Josh, Andy both found it their first year a lot, and I'm sure Rob had his chance. And then you've heard Kurt cussing that kink probably all the way.
Oh man, I needed counseling.
And then that's what got Steve a lot in the race. It's definitely the hardest part of the track, because it's a timing thing of hitting it, because you're coming out of the turn, you got a real quick pull. You got to let the car hit the kink, but then there's another quick pull after that, and it's just all timing that you get by running that track. And then it's a 180-degree turn, and it's the fastest part of the track from there. So back to the driver's station.
You have to drive so hard and ton of brake. There's a flow underneath. You pick a speed and you hold it. You run it into the kink, you lift, moment, not all the way, just a hair, and then punch it again, and then right on the brakes into the teardrop. If you don't drive that track hard, you're going to do 7.5s and 7.6s. But if you drive it hard and you have a great car, you can do 6.8s and 9s all day. So, and we had a great car, and I don't know and if everyone only picks one lane, your most important guys are the guys in the middle of the track to the outside. Those are your makers. Me and Greg get to have fun, and the rest of them do all the work. Because the outer lanes are much longer. So we got the freaking black that is going faster than every other team is in every other lane.
I was the first
it's just
one out
money.
there.
It's just money.
I handpicked Josh.
Yeah.
And Greg is just as fast as Josh in black. I've never seen anyone. Even Mark is phenomenal from Georgia, right?
Right.
That kid is awesome.
Yeah.
And he is a machine. And Slot Car Corner's car had nothing. And he was only a 10th back. That's how good that team is. They are so good. They don't go away. And we had everybody covered. And then it was Greg's year. It was Grizzly's year. And I can't tell you how much work Rob did with tires. I mean, it's so monotonous. And to do them the same way every time. I mean, it's a 15-hour gig for one set.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's so much work. And the key is we're making 5 and 6 tire changes on this track. Most teams are doing 1 or 2. So, but if you have the pace and you stick to your plan, you can do it. You can change tires every 48 minutes if you have the pace and the tires. But his tires are so consistent because he's doing it my way. No, it takes a lot of diligence. And that car was so quiet, it was hard to drive. You can't hear anything cog up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes cars last. If your car makes noise, you're dead. You're dead.
But once you getting back to the track, once you get to know the track,
oh, it's so much fun.
That's when the addiction hits.
Oh man.
Because the speed is unreal there. Yeah. And the track is just so fun. Fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. Although these guys say there's other lanes but white. I've never seen them.
Just like Josh, we didn't. The only reason why Josh is on black is because me and Greg never let him on any other lane till this year. We didn't allow him to be.
That's funny.
I think I ran blue and yellow once in years past.
Yep.
That's the best lane, Josh. Just stay on black.
But it's so much longer. What is it? 20 feet longer?
Well, the big thing with black is when the car slides and he goes into the gutter, you're into the dirt.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Greg's lane on red, your car slides into the white lane. There's not really dirt, but on black. So to pay attention to not slide the car into the marbles is big on black. Yeah. And once your tires are dirty, sorry, shake it off and keep it going, buddy.
You can't even really clean them because the car, now you're picking up dirt again. It's just a catch-22. It's better to just stay in. And you're going to come up there, Marty, enough's enough. Yeah. You'll see yourself. It's such a fun
that'll be the lane that I'm in.
And you can ask Steve. He was on Suicide Watch twice there.
You know, Josh and Andy, this is their third year. They were doing 350, am I correct? 350 laps their very first year. Now look at what they did.
Yeah, right.
It's not a track you're going to go on. Yeah. It's not a track you're going to go there and learn overnight. You really have to
put the time in.
So
it's big fun. You would love it.
Yeah. So Andy, what lanes were you running? in your rotations?
I ran yellow
And
blue and red.
Okay.
Yeah.
You ran
He runs them all. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's
all
crazy.
around guy.
Yeah.
Because I watch, we go up there and we practice, and I watch all the drivers, and I know what lanes, because when I set the schedule, it's very specific to driver strengths. Like we went up there beforehand and mainly to get Steve up there.
Right.
Because I wanted to, let him see the track, because Andy and Josh were thrown into the race right off, and it was okay, but they definitely
It's tough,
struggled
yeah.
in the race first year. So taking Steve up there, I originally had him, running a lot of yellow. We learned up there that he loves, was definitely better in blue, and changed the schedule going into the race, and it definitely suited him well, because at the end of the race he was doing 380 laps.
Yeah.
And
Heck
Kurt's
yeah.
great at white. Rob is great in the middle lanes, through the years. And Josh, when I brought him up, I've always run black because that was
his lane.
That was my lane. I was always the best one at
Because
it.
Butch was on red.
Yes,
Yeah.
Butch was our red lane driver through the years. And Josh was good at the gutter lanes at Butch's. And we were up there. I'm like, Josh, run black.
Yeah.
And I saw him, and he ran it well enough. I'm like, this is my chance to get off black
Yep.
and run the rest of this track.
Yeah, no.
So, but no, I mean, seriously, he's really good at the outer gutter lane. And, that allowed me to flow back into the inside of the track and, be
Make
useful
laps.
elsewhere, as,
Yeah.
to the team.
It
So,
was funny
Steve-
in our testing.
Oh, sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
So it was funny in our testing. You can ask Greg, Steve, Andy. I mean, heck, Rob was even down here a couple times. I was in the red lane on Butch's track, partially because of the enduros. Nobody wanted to run that lane, so I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I guess I'll run it. So I learned the red lane on Butch's track, and I can run that lane now as fast as I can run yellow, which is just crazy on that track. And like Greg talked about earlier, it translated amazingly
Right.
to black on Mike's track.
Yeah.
And all that work.
Yeah,
all
pretty
those that
awesome.
paid off, and it was
Mhm.
amazing. Just, I don't know. I like running the gutters for some reason. I'm
Mhm.
weird, but
Oh, no. Somebody's got to run them, right?
yeah,
Yep.
somebody's got to run them.
Yeah.
Steve,
I
which
thought
which
that's
lanes
where
did
we
you
put the Zambonis.
Steve, where did you graduate? What lanes did you like, and what were some challenges you felt like the track brought from your to your driving style?
I ran blue the majority of the time, and then I ran white once. And I think the deal is that kink that everybody keeps talking about, which is kind of like you can go through it. It's whether or not you can go through it fast and keep the speed going through it, because there's a hairpin corner right after it, and then a super long straightaway. So that's like where you make or break your lap right there. And the red lane, which is the most inside lane, and the white lane, when you go through the kink, there's really not much kink there. Okay. So you can really kind of blow through it and run great laps. So I really liked white a lot. I didn't really run red because I knew I wasn't going to be on red anyway. So,
Right.
but when I first got there and Greg had me in yellow, I was running yellow, and the kink's pretty severe in yellow. So I was just having some timing issues with it. And so I got in blue a little bit more, and it was much more doable for me. So kind of gravitated toward blue and was able to turn good laps. So unfortunately, Andy had to take yellow, which he's good in all the lanes. Andy is like
Yeah,
the
definitely.
do it all guy on that track, and that really
He
helps.
sleeps
a lot.
all the time.
Yeah,
I was running the race
Yeah,
through my head.
Yeah.
right.
I just closing
So-
my eyes.
I'm like, so yeah, I don't race on wood that much. I'm like, race mostly on plastic. I race probably 2 or 3 times on wood a year. Although a friend of ours, Ross, who has a really cool wood track, I've been racing on it a lot more and loving the speed of the wood tracks. So definitely getting a lot better at them. But yeah, the blue lane was, it's just a lane where you have to always be it's not an on-off lane with the trigger. You're always in the middle of that trigger pull. And I've always been able to drive really well in that mid band range. And I think that's one of the why I've been so successful is so many people can't drive in that mid band. They're always wanting to be full throttle or off the, in the brake or whatever it is. And I can really drive well in that mid band, and that blue lane really allowed you to do that a lot. So yeah, so I think it worked out really well.
Yeah.
I think it's the toughest lane, blue.
Yeah.
I think it is.
In my opinion,
But-
yeah, because of that mid.
but
you're
during-
never off.
During the, don't forget, we race for 24 hours. That we're on the track for 24 hours, and with
Right.
6 teams, it takes around 36 hours to run this race. And during that time, the track, just like real racing, the only thing we don't have is the rain.
Right.
The
It
track changes so much, and you have to be able to adjust your driving. And in a 48-minute heat, it's just muscle memory. You just, I don't know, you try to get into that computer mode and just do, when the team says you're there, and you just try to concentrate on staying.
It turns
there.
into slow motion.
But the track gets slippery. It's wood, so humidity and heat and
Temp.
cold, that all affects the track. The biggest thing is the dust, because we run silicones, and when a lot of people are walking around at the beginning of the race, at the end of the race, the track it seems like it's always a little dirty. But then in the middle of the night, when guys are off on their sleep and things settle down, the track, I don't know, this year, the track just got so good in the middle of the night. And the unfortunate problem we had this year is nobody got to see the night heat.
Right.
Because,
Something
we had,
happened at the start. and
yeah,
it
they had
fried everyone's lights but ours.
yeah, everybody, so it wasn't fair for, to make a team go off and fix their lights when it wasn't their problem.
Right.
So this year they just threw out the night heat. But if you watch some of our older videos, night racing is so fun. Ask Greg. It is so fun. on
I
night
think
race.
you do better at night too. You have less coming in. Your brain
Well,
can really focus.
Well, you really don't see that wiggle in the car or that slide the car might have because it's dark.
Yeah,
So, and I don't know, some of the best heats happen in the night.
I agree.
Mhm.
So I left this question up. Joe from Herreras Carrera asks, what mindset or strategy do you use to catch back up if you find yourself falling behind? And you guys, did you win wire to wire?
Yes.
Yes.
You guys
But-
didn't have to worry about that.
Well, we fell
We
behind
started out
after
like
my first heat.
Started out off the
We
track.
fell behind after my first heat and had to come back and get those laps back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think we were
lost
behind.
a-
We just
a
lost
chunk
our
there.
lead.
And
Well, maybe
uh,
we weren't behind. I felt
No,
like
we
I
were
was good.
behind. We did lose. We
We-
lost like 30 laps or something like that.
But when you
Maybe
do,
we
you,
I thought.
you can't, I don't want to say we're not racing against the other teams, because we are. You have to, the biggest problem, even in your weekly racing, concentrate on your car in that lane and just try to do the best with what you have.
Don't come out.
And if you don't come out, most likely you're going to catch up.
You're burying them. We had so much pace. All we had to do was not come out, and there was no way they could run with us.
Yeah.
It was just we just had the car. If you either have the car or you don't.
Right. And there it is,
uh,
the winning car.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Great paint scheme.
I'm not a long wheelbase guy, but they did a great job with it, and
Greg's
awesome car.
Greg's going to do a video, I think, where he's going to break the car open, and you're going to have it on your show, right, Marty?
Well,
I'm
I think
editing the video right now. So.
yeah, he's going to post it, and then I'll share it on my channel. And just
Yeah,
I'll just
right.
share a link to it so people can find it, just in case.
So
they're
getting
not
back to a
subscribed.
little bit more about the preparation. This
Yeah.
year, I started in December, and I finished the Thursday before the race. 27 sets of tires, 15 to 18 hours a piece.
That's good.
That's 450 hours just in tires.
Just in tires.
months.
You got 14 cars, and you got to test them. They're not all the same tires. We're testing different sizes, different rims, different blah blah blah. And that's where you find out what works. What worked on Friday for us wasn't working on Saturday, and that's how we got the Steve car.
It was humid on Friday, and Saturday was bone dry outside, and instantly the traction just goes out the window. So just like any other wood track, humidity is king. So,
but I think I had like 450 plus hours in tires alone, just rear tires.
Unreal.
Thank God we don't have to change the fronts.
Awesome job.
Oh man, that is just, it's hard to believe, and I think that you'd spend that much time on tires. You said how many sets?
27.
20 sets. And how many did you go through?
I started in December because we did a test down at Butch's house in January.
Right.
And I brought down 6 sets of tires, and I came back with 0. Then I went to Florida, and then I came back, and we scheduled a test at Mike's house on March 15th. I took 6 sets of tires and came back with 0.
I yoinked a pair
on March 15th, on March 16th, and we got a race in a month. I had no tires. And I brought, don't forget, I supplied tires for JD Motorsports too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I brought to the race 15 sets of tires.
Mm-hmm.
You gave me a couple so I could clear the bugs out. I went club racing the Wednesday before. I was so nervous about that. And these are with everyone at Cloverleaf. I know. I'm telling you, the adrenaline was kicking like you don't know. You don't race for months and months. And I'm like, dude, you got to give me a set of tires. So I went in his truck. He's brought me a set of tires. I friggin' smeared the boys. It was fun, but it wasn't my car. And I'm like, Rob's got it going on, man. These tires are awesome. I mean, I hadn't raced in months, and they were awesome. So I'm like, and then that year there were three of guys from another team in there, and they're talking to me about it, the race. I'm like, we're gonna win. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm like, they're like, well, there's gonna be a lot of fast guys out there. That's right. They're all on Grizzly, everyone.
Yeah.
And they just look at me. You can go home now. It was kind of fun without you for 8 months.
And on March 15th, when we went to Mike's house, so I told you Mark from Georgia holds the track record, and if I'm not mistaken, it's 6.7 seconds, some odd change.
But you have to do it during the race, and that's what makes the difference.
On March 15th at Mike's house, we had every driver in every lane below 7 seconds.
That never happens.
With Kurt hitting a 6.6.
Almost a 6.5. I'm like, next year it's going to be 6.6s and 6.7s are packed.
So
it's a lot of fun, and you say, you know what, I'm never doing it again, and you're on the phone the next day. You can't wait for it to be over. I'm never doing it again, and you're already on the phone the next day.
Yeah.
So this team is staying together to try to go back to back next year.
As long as they'll have me.
Absolutely.
All right. Fantastic. But like Rob said, Kurt said, you got people shoot for you now.
We're going to bring Butch with us, though.
Yeah,
there you go.
We got to bring Butch back.
Yep.
Him and I'll share white because that's the only lane on the track anyway. The rest of them lanes are just for show.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean,
any of the other boys got any questions?
Well, I mean,
I'll answer them all.
So
just keep talking, Kurt.
Viewers.
So your viewers, I don't have to do nothing.
For your viewers here, so there's 6 of us here trash talking each other. Now put 40 guys.
Right.
Oh man,
That's the fun.
that's more fun than the racing. I'm
Oh
gonna
my
put it
gosh, yeah.
because it's earmuff night. Earmuff night. The smack talk is what it's all about.
But
So-
I mean,
It's so much fun.
Well, and that came across in the
Things-
live stream. You could hear you guys laughing, and you could tell that the atmosphere was a lot of fun.
Well, when your car leaves a vapor trail, it's a whole lot more fun than when you're struggling. You know what I mean?
I know,
Yeah,
but
I
I mean,
know it's gone again.
it did read well on
Car was
online.
so good.
Yeah,
Really good car.
that's
I mean,
fantastic.
what was
There were some
Nice.
really cool
Yeah.
innovations in that car that
Yeah.
I don't know that people really know about necessarily. It's hard to see them when you just look at the pictures, but yeah, we took innovations from several different people, I took innovations from several different people and put them all in that car, and then added one myself, and it was amazing. It was an amazing car. I really
It was
didn't
dead
really
silent.
about it because I couldn't test it when I built it. The only thing I could do was run the gear mesh or run it on my dyno and kind of tune the gears in the gear mesh. But as far as like the actual tuning goes, I'd given it to Greg. But when you build a car like that, you really have to just be so thoughtful about everything. Every single piece, every single aspect of that car is just as perfect as you can possibly get it. And if it's not, it's going to show up after 24 hours, or
Oh yeah.
it's going to show up after just however many hours. And it's the weak point. And you never want to have a weak point in that car. And this is the first 24-hour race that I've ever been in, but I knew just by talking to Greg and, a few other people, it's like when I built that car, it was one of those things that, you just had to really, you really had to focus on the details. And that's really the key to the whole thing. So
The car took a lot of
well,
shots.
yeah. I mean,
when
when we
innovations and like Steve talked about every part of that car, no different than real racing, correct?
Right.
They're just smaller versions. And innovations, the doctor of innovations for the Michigan 24 is definitely Smokey-O.
Yeah.
That man has come up with some unbelievable things.
Yeah.
And
Well, he's won how many
of
those proxies has he won? Nobody's won more. I mean, the guy's
so I mean, and he's willing to he shares them with all of us. This is why I do this. This is what makes this work better. Blah blah blah. But he always, I'm supposed to be inheriting that slot car Bible that he has, that he's made up. He's promised it to me. Already willed in my name. I just got to outlive him. That's all.
Yeah. Either that or you're going to catch on fire when you touch it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the car that we had, I mean, Steve built a great car, and when he gave it to me, I did a couple things, but nothing big. I mean, we talked before he built the car. It was like, these are the parts I use, and he took those and put them together just as good, if not better, than a lot of the cars I brought. Just some small tweaks. We got up there, and we had one car that definitely was the fastest. And by the end of Friday, we had taken his car again, and we were like, okay, this was our fastest car. This is the car we're going to run in the race. Let's take one car of each. He took his car, and I took another one of mine, and we mimicked the race car. And his car came alive. My car came alive. So when Saturday morning came around, I'm throwing all three cars at the guys. They're practicing on their lanes. I'm watching times. And, I pulled one of the cars out because I needed to decide between two. There was a third one there that it was as fast as the other two, but not quite. So I pulled that one out quickly because I didn't need to decide between three. So we're running Steve's car and our other car that we had marked the entire time. They're both running same times. Steve's car had a little bit more smoothness through the corners, and when I ran it, and it showed up also with them running laps. They put more laps back to back together as opposed to a fast lap, a slow lap, a fast lap. It was more consistent, and that's what gave us that car. It was just more consistent with every driver, and it was all in the turns, with that car that Steve put together.
Rotated a little bit better.
It was literally just silent. It was like it was a stealth fighter. It was seriously a stealth fighter. It was a badass car. I mean, and like I said, the coolest thing about it is all the innovations that went into it that we all, whether it was Jeff Smith, you, Greg, my innovations that I came up with, and the other practice races that we did. It was a culmination of like some really awesome concepts.
A year's worth of work.
Really cool.
Right.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And none of us knew, except for Greg, what car he was giving us. And that's the way you got to do it.
Yeah, right.
That's the way you have to do it. Greg just gives you a car. What do you think? This, what are my times? How am I doing? What do you think? The car feels great, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I had no idea till the race started that we were using Steve's car, a car Steve built.
Yeah, this was the test body. Hold on. Where is it?
Find the camera.
There it is.
Up.
Stealth
Good.
fighter.
Nice.
That was the original body that was on the car. And then Greg took this one off and put on one of the team livery bodies. So we really didn't know which car was which, because all the liveries for the team are the same or really close to the same colors.
They all vary.
Different number. That's about it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Tiny little number. He has some kind of like CIA code going on. I never touched that. Every time he gave me a car, I'm like, okay, let's use this one. Let's use this one. One would be a little more planted. One had unbelievable off the corner. I mean, they all had their own strengths, but the one thing they all stayed in the slot.
Yeah.
And they were all good. It didn't matter. We could have literally picked one of 5 cars.
Mm-hmm.
But the car we used was dead silent. I'm like, I can't even hear it. I can't hear it. You don't know when you're braking, I'm like, you're waiting for that feedback. There's no feedback. It's like a hydrostatic drive or something. It's that
it was like a magic carpet. It literally it wasn't even touching the
floating around the track. It was sick.
Well, that's one of Kurt's mottos. Silence is speed.
Oh
yeah.
You can't. Car can't wiggle and it can't make noise. So you get rid of those and you're winning. So
you've got a good car.
It's the first car I've ever driven that was totally silent. And it's something different. It's honestly a little bit of a learning curve. I've driven quiet cars before, but a silent car, kind of like Kurt was
Never.
saying, you can't hear what the car is doing and you're relying more on your sight.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was
you
really
can hear
cool.
the tires. You can literally hear the tires hooking up. It's very strange.
All right. So I'm asking for a friend. How does a new person looking to go to the 24-hour race, how do they start preparing? They're not going to know how to build a car the way it needs to be built because they've never been on the track before. How do they practice? How do you prepare from a mental standpoint and, from a car standpoint for a race like that?
Well, the Michigan
24. First of all, you got to learn how to drive.
Yeah.
Don't start off.
I said I was asking for a friend.
It's also track time.
You got to
There's
get on
so
the track.
much to it. And then you with this race, you have to know someone because the same teams come back every year. And to add another team is you're adding how many hours?
6
Craig?
more hours.
6
6
more
more
hours.
hours. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you have to earn your way in. You have to earn your way in.
But I think
They
there's
should
enough
look that
6-hour and even 12-hour races around.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cloverleaf does them.
Butch's 6-hour races, we're always looking for drivers. Come and have a ball.
Oh, yeah. It's a
You
great
and Dusty, I mean,
Holiday race, yeah.
Right.
even though you put us in the DQ slot, Marty,
I know.
you and Dusty
I'm good
still
at
had
that.
fun.
But hey, I'm just
Yeah.
looking at it as I saved you guys because you would have used that pod, and if I
did,
didn't
yeah.
break
Right.
that car, you may have still been with that pod, and maybe you don't get a win.
Good point.
But 3-hour and 6-hour races
They're fun.
are a very good start. And I don't know if you're going to ever get the mental, because I mean, me and Greg, and there's other people who's did it every year. The mental part, you just have to learn to fight through.
I mean, I don't eat. I never eat at these races. I mean, it's just the adrenaline. I had I had like McDonald's sausage McMuffin or something like Saturday morning. The next, I had one bite of the ham
That was the
sandwiches,
problem right there.
and then I had a sloppy Joe at the 37-hour mark.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, we're up there for 48 minutes. So you're standing and your legs are just like rubber by the end of the time.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Your hips are hurting, everything's hurting, and you're just like, it's just time. How much time we got left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
They
I
say,
will-
yeah,
I
32
will
to
say
go.
this,
What?
that when it was my first year and I practiced every night. Luckily, I'm lucky enough to have a really nice track. So, but I also was practicing driving at night with the lights, which I had never done before. Unfortunately, we never had to do a night stint, but that was some of the most fun that I had practicing was with the lights off and running with those lights. But all of this stuff doesn't just come out of nowhere and magic. It's super hard work, or it's not super hard work. It's tons of fun, but you have to put in the hours. You have to be focused on how the cars work, why they do what they do, how it's like a whole concept of things. And then you podium, you win, people notice, you get invited to the race or to be on the team, and that's kind of what it takes. But if anybody has ever raced in any other, whether it's real cars or bikes or, basically my whole life has just been one competition after another and being in one form of racing or another. And you really pull from those experiences because no matter what you're racing, you're always going to have a shitty day. You're always going to have a down point. You're always going to have this, turning point in the event or the race where it's like, look, either you're going to get your shit together or it's over. And mentally, you've been through that enough times, it's really not that big of a deal. But when you're on a team versus when you're an individual or racing individually,
It's different.
that much harder. It's that much harder to not perform for all these guys because I knew Greg wanted to win. I knew all these guys wanted to win. And I was potentially, the guy that was going to make or break it because I hadn't been there before. So, I felt a lot of pressure going into this race, but at the same time, I didn't feel any pressure at all because I look at my past experiences, how I did at nationals, top qualifier, whatever, second place, and then all the other races throughout the year that we go to that, you podium on, and you just have that feeling. And I told Greg, I told all these guys, it's like, we're going to win. We're going to win. And you have to visualize the win before it happens. And I think all these guys wanted to visualize it and were visualizing it. And man, when it came true, after, Rob made those final 200 laps, it was just like
There it
the
is.
most incredible feeling
Yeah.
for all those guys and me as well. So yeah.
Another
Yeah.
thing about that race that you need to learn for any enduro or any race really is there's a lot of race etiquette at this race. You're not mashing, you're mindful of who's next to you. You don't want to, here, I'm loose as hell. I know I have to come in and my guys are like, screw it, you're staying out. So if you're slow or even if you're fast, you have to worry about ruining someone else's race or your own. So learning race etiquette and race craft, when to pass. This guy's harder to get around. He's going to race me. Other people have different views of what race etiquette is. So you have to figure out who you're racing with as well. And at the 24, everybody knows everyone, and nobody wants to lose that way or win that way. You know what I mean? So I took out Andy once. I'm like, oh my, I stop. I take someone out, I stop until they get marshaled. That's just something that I do. Not everyone will do that. But if I take someone out, plus we got the best car, you can't just check out on them.
Right.
You have to stop. So that's part of all racing. I do it in club racing. You just can't smear someone and take off. So that's another big thing you have to learn before you do something like this. You need to get some race craft.
Yeah.
Learn how to race.
But you hear it in all sports. We won because the guys bought into the system.
Right. It's important.
So
Everyone
Greg's our leader, but we know all of our positions, and that's what makes the team work.
Right.
Is we all got together, and this is our plan, and we're gonna. When Greg is for years has wanted to run an LMP. He's 3D printed, and nothing has been good enough. So when Scale Auto built this, and Greg talked about it, I said, "Build them. We're gonna live or die by it.
Right.
Just build it. You wanted to run. You've earned the right to run an LMP. Let's just run it. We're gonna live and die by it." And
it worked.
Our whole team has bought into that. So that's the system, is you got to buy in, and you can't, no finger pointing, no, Greg, I told Greg or I told Andy to do this and he didn't do it. That doesn't happen on our team.
Yeah.
We all live and die by our decisions.
Yeah, we've always gone by the fast car is the winner. Doesn't matter who built it, whose idea it was.
That's right.
We're all pushing towards the goal of winning. That is the goal.
And, they got to understand there's only one of us on that track at a time.
Yeah.
So everybody else is doing something to help that person out while he's racing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's either
He's watching the clock.
Somebody's getting stuff ready for the next heat. So we're always doing something at the time while that guy's racing.
Yeah.
Somebody's telling them they can't come in for tires because their lap times are still good.
So, funny story. Like we got in the race where we couldn't pit. Like we had to cut down on our pit. I think I made Steve mad during the race. He came in for a pit, and I said, "Keep going." He takes one lap. He stops back in front of me again. He goes, "If I want to pit me," and I'm like, "Fine." There you go.
Right. The
plan
tire
B,
cleaning,
plan B.
the tire cleaning gets to be. It's just like, forget it. I mean, you're right. You're totally right. We were doing it way too much. It was becoming a stretch. It really was. I mean, at least once in 48 minutes, you got to have a tire. You got to have a tire cleaning. Okay?
Give the guy a break, man.
I seen John Albright's comment there. That is part of race etiquette.
Yep.
That guy is not really a really good marshal. So whatever we do, do not come off there. Do not come off there.
There's
Very
definitely
No.
You can just guarantee it's going to be slow-mo if you're in the lead. That's for sure.
14-second Marshall. Dude, I had a hot dog once. Okay.
I'm a big sports
I
guy.
hit my thing here. I
It
use
was
this
pretty
because I
bad.
have to. I'm like freaking out. I'm like, anywhere but there. Okay. And of course, that's where you go out.
Always.
Yeah.
I'm like,
every time.
I don't yell at marshals, but I'm like, don't tip it over. By the way, now I get all this in, right? Marshal, we are racing here, sir.
Right. This is not an
And
inspection.
I look
of
over in
the
my
car,
pit, and because we're on plan B, I look over in my pit and I hear crickets. I'm like, I'm in the marbles. The SARS patient just marshaled me. Somebody's got to clean my tires. Hey, dude. And then Kurt Moser from Slot Car Corner is, I'm so sick of this plan B I keep hearing about. I'm laughing my ass off while I'm being pitted by, I don't even know who he was, but I'm like, he was like dead. Like, wow, dude. I mean, I got some sleep. Did you?
He was asleep.
Change his hands
he
2
was asleep partially.
times.
Too
Oh, it was
funny.
bad. But you can't yell at the marshals. That's part of racing too.
Yeah.
You know, you
That's
just
right.
can't. Because
Yeah.
although it seemed sketchy, he was doing the best he could.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to say I'm a big sports nut. I watch all kinds of sports, and every championship team, you hear the same thing: is our people bought into the culture, they
That's
bought into
right.
the system, they bought into the plan, and they executed it right. And I think that's what you guys did.
Can't butt heads.
Greg and I said we were talking last night, and he's like, "Yeah, we have 6 strong personalities." And I said, the difference was you have 6 strong personalities that have people skills that could communicate, and they were headed all in the same direction. And that's
helps.
different. And that is gigantic. You can't replace that. And so buying
It's
in
hard to
and being
come
able
by.
to, it's being a good teammate. And like what Andy was talking about is I could hear you guys talking to each other on the live stream. It was very obvious because I recognize all your voices, but you were coaching, you were encouraging, you were always, throwing out some times, and going back to the race etiquette. Just to say one thing about that, I learned a ton when you guys came down, and Rob, that first race at Butch's that I was in. I had not really raced
That was fun.
much, right? And so I learned so much in that race. In the moment, I didn't think I did, and then after we got to reflect on it, just 24 hours. Dusty and I had the conversation. I was like, okay, now we understand about giving somebody space. If they're faster than you can't go into the corner racing them. And just those little things, I think, pay off. And sometimes you have to learn those the hard way. But I think that
I took you out. I didn't mean to, but I waited and let you go.
Right. So those are the things sometimes you learn that way. But I think that, every time since then, like I've been coached some of that stuff. It's like, okay, here's why we do that. And that's important too. So those are one of the, some of the things that I wanted to throw out there. But man, that you guys had a great race and great game plan. And yeah, plan B, that was code for, hey, we just need to settle down and run our race. And that was what
nobody in the pit. There's nobody in the pit. Where is it? They're drinking beers over there or something. I need my tires cleaned. You're fine. They're yelling out obsequious lap times. I'm probably turning 7.3s, I'm hanging on.
Great 6.8, Kurt. That was awesome.
6.8. Bull crap. Barely getting around.
Yeah, John Albright says the entire idea is to have fun. Read the memo. Yep, exactly. And it was obvious you guys were having fun.
It was so much fun.
It is so much fun.
Yeah,
it is. And that's what brings you back year after year after year. I mean, Greg will tell you that. I mean, you go through some very, Steve said you go through some very low times, but at the end, on Monday morning when you wake up, the low part, you don't even think about it. It's all the top parts, and they're they're always greater than the lows, and that's what brings you back.
That's
yeah,
right.
it's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
Especially when everything is gelling. It's just a lot of fun. I miss it. I miss the guys, and
Yeah.
I still don't think I'm not going to do much club racing, but I'm definitely going to do these enduros. They're a lot of fun.
Mhm.
So looking forward to it.
But
Yeah,
make
man.
sure Dusty knows I have a plan, and he's just got to buy into it.
That's-
I'm coming down to Ohio and shooting one of them big bucks that he killed.
Oh,
Here
yeah,
we
there you
go.
go.
You
I got some big.
complicated.
I got some big ones on
Well,
the wall, but
They're staring at me.
man,
Okay? Bunch of killers.
Yeah, you have to
one
come
more
down.
big race. We got one more big race in about a month to win. So we're
That's
not
right.
done yet for this year.
Yeah, you guys, there's a couple of you that are
now
gonna be
that's
racing.
the next step is root them guys on that's going over to Italy.
Yep.
Yeah, we want them to
Yep.
do
Yeah.
well. That Greg's part of that crew.
And Steve better bring back some good food, and it better not be spoiled when he
Yes.
gets here.
That's the only reason I'm going over there, man, is for the
It's food.
pizza. I
That's
don't.
right.
I mean, the
Yeah, I
stuff,
know.
it's-
Greg will go. Greg will be saying, "Steve, I need to come into the pits." Steve's off at the restaurant somewhere.
You'll never eat pasta again.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
I'll tell you what,
is
man.
this?
I'm yeah. I think our logo for the 24, the Michigan 24, was total domination, and I'm starting to feel that way for the WRE as well. So hopefully our team's up for the total domination.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah, we got that coming up. And
When is that race? May? Or
End of
June?
May.
It's right after Memorial Day, like
Yeah.
the next weekend.
the next weekend after Memorial Day.
No
And-
kidding.
And then I was talking to Paul
It'll
about
be on TV.
they'll do
Yeah,
a
that'll
live
be
stream.
It'll
well
streamed.
There will be a lot of coverage.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And then the raffle will be coming up in a few weeks. I think Paul was throwing out some dates for that. So the guys that have bought raffle tickets, I did want to throw that out.
Is there a date on the day of the raffle? Sounds like so many prizes. That may be a two-day raffle.
Yeah, I don't know. We need to finish that conversation, Paul and I. But yeah, I think they're second week in May on a Tuesday. We're going to do it here on the live stream, and so we'll dedicate that episode for that. I think so. That'll be fun to give away a bunch of cars.
Good.
That's
Yeah.
exciting. But yeah, that's coming up. The WRE. We've got the Scale Auto Endurance later in the year, right?
Yeah.
Is that back up in Michigan?
Then the NSR Nationals.
NSR Nationals, the Eastern Nationals again
and then
in
hunting
November.
season.
Yeah, so right in the middle of hunting season, as you said.
That's
So-
what no, that's the
24.
end of October. We're in hunting season.
So yeah, lots of things to look forward to for sure. But yeah, this has been great, guys. I appreciate you joining the live stream. It's a little after 9:30, usually about the time we wrap things up. But did we miss anything, Greg? Anything we wanted to talk about? Is there anything else?
I think we covered
Well-
it all: the race, the prep, and
Yeah,
a lot of laughs.
The one thing, sorry, Greg, I didn't mean to interrupt. The one thing that I don't know that we talked enough about was the brushless motor, and
Yeah, it was
Greg
awesome.
bringing that to the event and just bringing it to 1/32 scale racing in general in a way that you can drive the cars just like you would be driving the cars with an analog motor. It's amazing. The technology that he's been able to put together with some guys over in Europe and bring it to the United States, and us be able to build cars that are dominant, quite honestly, in endurance racing, and could very easily be dominant in sprint racing as well. So kudos to Greg for that and his company that builds puts the motor and the speed controller together. Everybody should give that a shot for sure.
Yeah, that new Speedo is awesome.
yeah.
It's wicked, man. It is wicked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after
It
last
is.
year's
It
race,
is.
I gave
I'm so
Deuce Lot a lot of
skeptical of it.
feedback.
And it's awesome.
I
Yeah.
bet you there'd
Gave
be
Deuce
more
Lot a
than
lot of
3
feedback
teams in
after
there
last year,
Yeah.
and he changed the ESC, and it's perfect now.
Yeah.
So
It
Yeah,
is.
it's just
It's an
effortless to drive.
amazing piece.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, that was a
brakes,
good change.
everything. It's just so smooth.
Yeah, it really is.
Never runs out. It's just, I mean, and that's a big track. That car never stops pulling.
And that
It's
car could
just
go
an
for another
awesome
24 hours. I think we all
Yeah.
agreed. It was
Yeah.
like there was no gear wear at all. It was just like that
No.
motor it was just dominant, man. It was just dominant. It
It
really
was really nice.
badass car.
I couldn't believe
Badass
the horsepower for days. Just unbelievable smooth. It's felt the same the first hint and the same in the last. It didn't matter. The car it never went away.
No.
As far as the motor performance, never.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I'm not a skeptic anymore. The Speedo and
they proved it. Yeah. And
It's
like you
just
said, innovation's
the
important to
brakes,
the hobby
Yep.
from a racing standpoint.
it's the wave of the future for sure.
Yeah.
Who wants to buy motors? No one.
Right.
No,
You don't want to replace it.
it's amazing that they've been using them in wing cars, but wing cars are basically just put it on the track and full throttle. And this setup,
Get your glue right.
You've got a power band, right? You've got like a very usable road racing car.
Yes.
That's phenomenal. I mean, you're talking about, you can gear it in a way that makes the car incredibly fast at high speed, and can go through the corners and
Real
at the same time
smooth.
pull
Plus,
some crazy.
how many different chips did we use? I used a 522. I mean, how many different chips did we use? So it doesn't matter who you are. It's going to work.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
Great stuff. Well, we're going to wrap up. A couple things, a couple announcements I have. One, Jamal, who was in the chat earlier, I saw he had to leave, sent me a message the other day, and he is launching a slot car apparel company. That would be Slot Cars of Atlanta is his screen name. And he sent me some pictures. And Steve, you're probably going to love some of these shirts. There's some sweet stuff. He's done a great job designing some things. So I'm going to try to get him on in a couple weeks to talk about that. Just something else, for the hobby. I think it's kind of cool. And then, don't forget about the raffle. There's still a chance to buy raffle tickets for the Spirit of America racing team as they prepare for Italy. And again, we'll make an announcement here in the next week of the date of that raffle after when I finalize.
And we will have race prepared cars in that raffle. Yeah. So actual cars that are going to be raced on that track and prepared for that track will be in that raffle as well. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
And I've talked to a handful of people that have bought raffle tickets. They're super excited. They can't wait till you guys start giving some stuff away. So that's coming up. And then I wanted to throw out Ian Douglas. Thanks for being in the chat tonight. I appreciate it. And Jim Rose. Jim sent me the Mazda that I've been playing with on the track. 124 scale auto. The car is a blast to drive. It is a blast to drive. It's so much fun.
The spinning pinion.
But
get yourself some spinning pinion.
Yeah. Ian and Todd released a podcast in the last couple of weeks. And it's fantastic. Good. They really do a great job, and it's just going to continue to get better and better as they kind of get in the groove. So if you haven't watched that, go check that out. But fantastic, guys. Guys, congratulations on your win. I don't know. I don't know six guys that deserve it any more than you guys do. Because I know how dedicated you are and how much work you put into it. And I mean, I've raced with all of you next to you, and you guys are all just fantastic on the track and make me a better driver when I'm out there. So I appreciate you. But
I also want to one last thing. I want to thank all the people on the live stream that were rooting for us. That helped out a lot. When you're in your 20th hour and you look down there and they're go team Grizzly go, that kind of stuff that helps.
Yeah, you
Thanks.
definitely had a lot of support out there. That was really cool to see. So, but guys, thanks, man. I'm gonna let you go, and we're gonna
Thanks,
call it
guys.
a night. So, like I
All
always
right.
say,
See you guys later.
go have some fun
See
racing.
ya.
ya. See ya.
Now, don't text me all night. I have a job. 5 a.m. comes early.
Jeez.
Right,
Goodbye.
Guys, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
I
Marty.
thought it was great. We got
Appreciate
a lot of great feedback, and we're starting to get into the summer hours, and I'm already starting to see decline in views. But I think a lot of people will come back and watch this show, so we don't have as many people.
It got up
on.
to 90.
Yeah,
It
and
got up to 90 at one point.
Yeah,
I was at 85.
yeah, I was gonna say I thought I saw 90 as well, and I don't really pay much attention to that, but it will get tons of replays. So great interviews, guys. Appreciate you.
Cool.
Congratulations, and I'll let you get back to the rest of your evening.
Marty.
Yeah, anytime,
Thanks,
man.
Yeah.
Appreciate
And
Fun.
yep,
Yep. See you.
good to see you guys. Can't wait to race again.